Many women on the Democratic side showed up dressed in fuchsia. In addition to the outfits, the Democrats came prepared to stand up to authoritarianism with a wide array of props, including a whiteboard and pocket constitutions. That, my friends, is how you stop fascism.
Fuchsia? I thought it was pink. Whatever, Stephen Colbert. And he got a warm round of indifference from his own audience. It sure feels like even the Dems are figuring it out. Their battle against Donald Trump, it's not working. It's not working at all. And we're seeing it in the polling data today. By the way, it's the Chris Plante Show. Michael Pelka sitting in for my friend Chris Plante. He's in sick bay today. Get better quickly, my brother. I know last night was a long night for many of us. But I also think the more we distill the address last night, it really was a remarkable speech by the President of the United States, especially in the face of the fuchsia, pink-wearing Democrats who had their little signs that they were holding up that were saying all kinds of things like Musk steals. Really, he steals. Could you maybe give us some evidence? And then they had signs that said lies, all kinds of stuff. I'm very happy President Trump didn't take the bait. Very, very happy. I think that was an excellent display of self-control. The Democrats, on their part, couldn't find it in their cold little hearts to stand up and applaud for people like the family, the survivors, the mothers, like Jocelyn Nunn, Gary's mom, like the widow of Carrie Comparatore, all of the folks that the president honored who were essentially victims of the Biden administration. They were the people whose lives have been turned inside out and upside down by some of the criminals, the millions of criminals that were let into this country during the 4 years of the Biden administration. And it just really was disgusting to me. I saw the president talk about Laken Riley, and we saw the tears in the eyes of Allison Phillips, that's Laken's mom, and her sister Lauren. We saw Jocelyn Nunn, Gary's mom, the 12-year-old girl who was killed by illegals after she was horrifically abused. And you saw the sad smile come to the face of Jocelyn's mom when the president announced an executive order renaming a beautiful animal refuge near where Jocelyn grew up in Galveston, Texas, after her, in honor of the love that she had for animals in this beautiful animal refuge. The president talked about declaring Tren de Aragua, it's one of the weirder names, Tren de Aragua, the terror organization, as a terror organization, which means we can go after them. There were moments like that the Democrats could not find it in their hearts to stand and applaud for those people, just like they couldn't stand for the little boy, 13-year-old DJ Daniel. The kid who's fighting cancer over half his life, and the president chose to honor him. We really saw who these people were. We really saw the Democrats exposed. The mask has fallen off. Were there favorite moments that you had? I'd like to share some of mine as well through this third hour of the Chris Plante Show. And there are other stories we have to get to, too. But I'd like to know your favorite moments. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Tom is on the phone in Western Pennsylvania. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the Chris Plante Show.
Thank you, Michael. This is a shout out to Chris. Get better. We need you, bud. Hey, I really enjoyed the fact the president mentioned about shipbuilding because, Western PA was a great steel country. And that whole area where Christopher's grandfather grew up and Chris was visiting and stuff, was all steel, and everything thrived around. You look at those towns, and they're all old mansions and stuff where everybody prospered. And then, of course, I lived through the downsizing of all that steel industry, and it went offshore. But we became just a model of once great, and we did the same thing with our chip manufacturing. And that's why when TSMC announced $100 billion in Arizona, that's awesome. Because people don't realize there's a tremendous amount of MEMS technology comes out of Arizona. That's the small packaging of everything. And so this is a great step forward. And then all the other manufacturing we've done over the years, this area could thrive again. The high-tech glass, so we've developed them here, but we kind of shipped them offshore for gaining of profits. But I think it's time for those profits to come back, and I mean in spades. So it's all available here. We just have to use us technologists and get these young people trained up again, because that'll make America great.
Tom, those are great points.
Great.
The president did address that, and that $1.7 trillion that he said in commitments to build here. Oracle, $500 billion. Apple, $500 billion. The Taiwanese chip company you mentioned. You have SoftBank is going to bring $200 billion to this country. There are massive inflows coming. We talked about Honda going to build its next model of the Civic in Indiana. And all the work that's being done to incentivize companies to come to America and build things, not just cars, but chips. And you said the high-tech glass, high-tech industry is vital to the future of this country. So that is all. I think that was all great news that we heard last night. Great stuff pointed out there, Tom. Thank you very much. Let's talk to Jeff in Herndon, Virginia. Hello, Jeff. Welcome to the Chris Plante Show.
Well, hello, Mike. Thank you so much. And, yes, definitely a shout-out to Chris. Do get better. The whole crew. We got such a deep bench of great guys like you and Chris. Shout-out to Vince. I got to say that, too.
Yeah, very happy. I'm very happy for – I have to say I'm very happy for Vince. He's one of the best guys out there, too. So I'm really happy about Vince Colonnese as well.
And you know what? I think there's a ton of people on this line that are like share that sentiment. So that's an awesome awesome huge community and growing. I think you all created here. That's fantastic. Hey, I just had this vision of when I was watching that. I mean, there were so many points, and that the shipbuilding one was an awesome one, by the way. No way we should have ever had our ships being built or repaired in China. U.S. Navy ships, who knows what sensitive stuff was on those ships, and yet China was repairing them. But so that's all great news. But one of the things I took away, and I'm always thinking we can do a better job of exposing these guys. I saw a horde of curmudgeons over there. Even if they had pink on, all this stuff, just a horde of curmudgeons. And then I was thinking, then this guy, had an even better phrase there. Nefarious Cretan. So now I really think we need to have a battle of the bands, the nefarious Cretans against the curmudgeon horde, and there's probably a few others I could think of. We got to do this thing, There was so much material.
There was last night. It was really a rich battleground for all of us to take shots. But you're right. They're curmudgeons. And you look at Bernie Sanders. You look at Nancy Pelosi. I didn't see Chuck Schumer last night, but I saw him this morning. He's making the rounds this morning. All the frowny faces who couldn't stand up for those beautiful stories last night, who couldn't cheer for America. And I do think, Jeff, that you point out the Democrats have lost their way. I made the point earlier. The Democrat Party appears to, someone else said they're splintering. And I said, yeah, it's because they don't have a leader. The Republicans were poised to splinter years ago, about 3 years ago, and they have coalesced behind President Trump, who has shown his true leadership skills. And I think the Democrats lost their message, and they've lost the people in turn. I point to what Rahm Emanuel said last week, and I think it's a sort of a warning to the Democrats in case you missed it. This is what he was making the rounds telling people. I think this was on Meet the Press.
Safe streets, strong schools, stable finances. Focus on those three things and your city's going to be fine.
Now, safe streets, stable finances, good schools. Yeah, that sounds like what Trump campaigned on, but continue, Ram.
Gone through 5 years where people became way too permissive of culture. They were all, which is why everything's locked up at Walgreens and CVS, and that is a disaster. I don't want to hear another word about the bathroom. You better start focusing on the classroom.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are still focused on the bathroom. President Trump last night talked about the executive orders he signed, both declaring two genders, male and female, and pushing to end any of the mutilations of children, the genital mutilations of children under the guise of gender-affirming care. There's now new research out that says, hey, the people that are getting these gender surgeries, they're more prone to mental illness and many of them prone to suicide. It's not a good thing. And President Trump brought it down to, I think, the most important level when he talked about especially stopping the gender surgeries on children. And he said this.
And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
Again, half a standing ovation because the Democrats wouldn't dare stand up and cheer for that. But they should have. They definitely should have. Let us talk to John in Maryland. John, welcome to the Chris Plante Show. John, are you still with me? Oh, John. Well, hang on, John. We'll come back to you. We'll go over to Mobile, Alabama, and talk to Eric. Hello, Eric. Welcome to the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, how you doing here? Hold on just a second. Let me get off speaker.
That's all right. How's Mobile? Is Wenzel's Oyster Bar still available in Mobile, Alabama, still operating?
How many you want, man? I'll send you some.
Oh, God, I love you. I love Wenzel's, one of my favorite joints in your town.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It really is. That dark gumbo is beautiful.
What's up, Eric?
Anyway. Look, Mike, I'm in the long-range towing business. That means deep sea. It means I've been to Africa, the far ends of South America, Pearl Harbor. Sort of like that Johnny Cash song, I've been everywhere, man. SBA, nobody's looking at these guys and what they did during the pandemic. They actually put me out of business. I'm still trying to get back, but they under Trump, they had the pandemic loan started in March of 20, and they were capped at 150. And then they since, because they were keep the lights on loans, President Trump. Boy, it feels good to say that. And when Biden got in charge, it was lights out because of their equity plan. And you can look up SBA Equity Action Plan. You'll see a list of 18 entities that were basically pre-approved. And, you know, if you were a heterosexual, conservative, Caucasian male, forget it. You just weren't going to get a loan. And I've had four. Because of what I do for a living, I have to go through ABS because the little millennial banker, he ain't going to understand taking a tugboat and going to Pearl Harbor. Anyway, which is just one place up there. But we had to shutter in 20 because these guys, and I'm in my later years into my career, and, you know, those five guys that man that boat, that's a special breed of cat. And to me, they're like extended family. And I wasn't about to send them to sea on a tugboat where you cannot socially distance, no vaccines, and there ain't no 911. The ambulance ain't coming in 10 minutes. And, you know, Port of Refuge might be Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And if COVID or Fauci disease didn't kill you, the hospital would.
Wow.
So when they came out when they raised the cap to $500,000, we went after what it was for, was to get you going again. You know, after you've been sitting here shuttered or slowed down or whatever. And it's not just me. There were 17.2 million denials. And anyway, I just want somebody to know this. I want Elon and his merry band of musketeers to walk through the doors there and start to look at what they did.
Well, Eric, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to bring you some good news. And first of all, I love the term musketeers for Elon's crew. And I'm going to start using that. And thank you, Eric, for that. The SBA is one of the agencies that is coming under extreme scrutiny, and they are finding, especially in the actual physical offices, what was done when people went to remote working. And it's disgusting. I trust that Elon and the Musketeers will clean this up, as will the new head of the SBA. I got to take a break. It is Mike Opelka in for Chris Plant on The Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at WashingtonTimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Chris is out sick today, and you know after last night, he must really be sick to not be here for this amazing day after Trump's speech last night. It's Mike Opelka in for my buddy Chris Plant. I think this is the first time in 20 years. Amazing. He'll probably heal pretty quickly. Some of my favorite moments from last night. Some were serious, some were a little more lighthearted. There was the moment that we had the president talking about the media and the Democrats and what they didn't understand about the border.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
I think that may be the best line of the night. There were some other ones. And if you want to share yours, 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. I do think there was an entire gigantic segment where the president started reading off a list of the waste and fraud that DOJ has exposed. And I'm astounded that the Democrats aren't saying, okay, we'll jump on board with you on this, because the American people are sick of thinking what their money was spent on, what their tax dollars was thrown away on. And some of these statements are just absolutely hideous and silly and stupid, and I'll share some of them with you. There also is news out of Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, about the tariffs, because the left was obsessed with the tariffs yesterday. It was Tariff Tuesday. And now on Wednesday, they're kind of waking up. Maybe we'll call it Waking Up Wednesday. I'll get into more of that with you. It is the Chris Plant Show. Opelka in for Plant. He's under the weather. He'll be back. And welcome back to the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka, that's me sitting in for Chris. He's in sick bay today. I anticipate his return tomorrow. I hope so. He's not one to call in sick. As I said, the last time this happened was likely during the Reagan administration. No, that's an exaggeration. But it was probably in the early part of this century. We mentioned yesterday was Tariff Tuesday, and that was the announcement of the effect taking place, the Canadian tariffs, the Chinese tariffs, the Mexican tariffs, and the left side of the mainstream media doing their Chicken Little impression, saying, oh, the sky is falling, tariffs are coming down, they're raining down tariffs on us. And those of us who understand how the tariff works, it's meant to be a negotiating tool in the minds of people like Donald Trump and Secretary Howard Lutnick. And Lutnick talked about the tariffs yesterday.
Both the Mexicans and the Canadians were on the phone with me all day today trying to show that they'll do better. And the president's listening, but I think he's going to figure out you do more, and I'll meet you in the middle some way, and we're going to probably be announcing that tomorrow. So somewhere in the middle will likely be the outcome, the president moving with the Canadians and Mexicans, but not all the way.
So there will be some sort of news today, and we're also anticipating a response from Trudeau and the president. The prime minister and the president were supposed to be speaking this morning. I don't know if that's happened. But Justin Trudeau doesn't have a lot of hand at this point. You know, he doesn't have the upper hand. He doesn't have any hand. And I think he is going to want to back down from his tough guy approach. Just saying, I think that's kind of where this is headed. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. But Howard Lutnick understands. The guy was the head of a huge trading firm, Cantor Fitzgerald, that was on top of the World Trade Center during the September 11th attacks. Speaking of September 11th, I heard nothing last night about a couple of topics I was hoping to hear about. I wanted to hear about the Epstein files, the JFK files, the RFK files, the September 11th files. Didn't hear anything about that. I did see the president give a very nice shout-out to Kash Patel, to Pam Bondi, and some of you are saying, hey, it would have been nice to see Pam Bondi handing out subpoenas last night. That sounds like a fun idea. It did not happen. Did not happen at all. But I really want to know what the heck is going on. When are we going to get some actual action on the Epstein list? I know everything was delayed and everything was held up because of the recalcitrant members of the Southern District of New York FBI office. And now the guy who was in charge of that office has retired suddenly. I think it was retired or get fired. I believe that's the way that would have worked out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I do want to talk to some of you as well. The phones have been very hot today, so I appreciate everybody who has participated today. Let's check in with Joe in Virginia. Joe, you had a thought on the price of eggs?
Yes, I thought it was a little weird that he brought up the price of eggs. But if you really think about it, it's a major problem. And the reason is they're killing millions of chickens because of this avian flu. And actually some humans have caught it, and a lot of animals have caught it. So what's the problem with that? The virus can mutate. Once it mutates, it's going to be carried by migratory birds, which are not restricted in the United States. You can't kill a migratory bird. And this is under the Biden administration. I have a little gentleman farm here, and they're loaded with hundreds of these Canada geese. They're not called Canadian, but Canada geese.
Yeah.
So I know he transferred this over to the agricultural secretary. They're trying to get a vaccine, but this is a serious problem in terms of regulating migratory birds which carry this virus. And incidentally, once they land in the water, I looked this up, the virus stays in water for 150 days. And I can tell you, it's on my driveway. I have a very long driveway. So we have to regulate migratory birds to restrain this flu, which could jump over to humans.
Joe, here's a question. How do you regulate migratory birds? They're wild animals. They're creatures that are flying from one seasonal resting place to another. That sounds like that's an impossible task.
No, it's not. And the reason is in the past, you've been able to shoot these things. I don't like to kill anything.
Yeah.
But it was a sport. And now they're all over. The threat from migratory birds, and I'm not on their back, but we have, I looked this up also, 15,000 hits on aircraft for migratory birds. One just recently that got into the engine of a plane flying from Cuba. It's a double threat. And what you have to do, I'm sorry.
I have watched this because as an egg eater, I'm a big fan of eggs. I think they're a great source of food for us. And I am reading from many people that, hey, it's only eggs in America, chickens in America. We're not seeing this happen in Mexico, and I wonder why. And I'm looking for confirmation on that. I tell everybody, source all of the rumors you're chasing. But the reality is the bird flu has jumped from the birds to some cattle. And in the case of humans, there was the case of an elderly man in New Orleans or in the Louisiana, the rural area of Louisiana, who handled a dead bird in his yard and got the bird flu and did not survive. That's the only case so far that I've seen where it was troublesome in terms of taking someone's life. There have been a handful of poultry farm workers who seem to have gotten some kind of avian flu. So right now it does seem to be a problem with the chickens, the poultry farms, and they are culling those flocks pretty fast, and they're also replenishing them. So I am hopeful there. I don't know if you're going to be able to, I guess, put something in the water of these ponds or areas where the migratory birds land that'll be able to shut it down if the virus lives probably in the bird poop for 150 days. That would be a problem. But it seems like there's a better solution somewhere, like we're not getting the whole story. So I'm hoping that putting this in the hands of the Agriculture Department, which is where I think it belongs, is going to generate at least a little better response. Just my thought, but I'll keep an eye on this. I appreciate you calling in, Joe. And have you thought about chicken rental? Is that something that's even in your world?
No, no. I buy eggs like everybody else.
Well,
we have a lot of local.
This is the craziest thing. There's a company that's been around for 10 years, and you can rent 2 chickens for 6 months. They come with a portable coop, and they come with a supply of food, and it works out to under $5 a dozen for fresher eggs, which have better nutrition than the eggs you buy in the store. It's kind of weird. Rent a chicken. It's not something I think we're going to be able to get to do because of, local restrictions. But for people out there, there are options. Thank you, Joe. Let us check in with Paul in Missouri. Paul, welcome to the Chris Plante Show. You had something to share, sir?
Mike, thanks for pitch hitting. It's been great to hear from you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I thought last night, that speech the president gave last night, he would not have given during his 5th year. I know he's been busy the last 4 years of survival, but he also learned a lot. He's able to put his own people in this second administration. So it's almost like 45 2.0 instead of 47, which the math is still the same. But he's been able to learn a lot. You can tell that he matured over these last 4 years as a leader. And it was an amazing speech last night.
Well, I agree with you, and I do think this is kind of a weird bit of political calculus. But had Donald Trump won the 2020 election still in the middle of the pandemic, I don't think he would have been able to be as successful in his first 43 days as he has been in the first 43 days of this term, because he was free.
100%.
Yeah. So it was a blessing. I know that sounds weird for people here. You go, are you listening to yourself, Opelka? You just said having Biden as president was a blessing. It was for Donald Trump because now he has the benefit of 4 years of education watching what the Democrats did and learning from his own first term, and now coming in and saying, okay, I know where the bodies are buried, and I'm going to be able to fix this. And I think that is going to be displayed in the accelerated actions of this administration going forward. So I tell everybody, buckle up. It's going to be really, really great first 2 years because it has to be, because the midterms are just around the corner. Excellent observation. Appreciate you hanging on and being there. Thanks very much, Paul. I mentioned that the left is waking up and had problems with what the heck was happening in the speech last night. And I refer to some of the admissions from CNN. For example, on David Axelrod. Yes, David Axelrod was on CNN, and he was really really interesting to listen to because he followed up the Scott Jennings statement that the Democrats screwed up here. So here's what happened with Axelrod last night.
Look at what's happening. The Democrats are not even acknowledging the cabinet right now. I just don't remember that being standard. At least they would get up and shake their hands.
Just the visual here that they're
not engaging. This is not a pathway forward to bipartisanship.
Oh, that was not David Axelrod. Obviously, that was I think Abby Phillip talking about the fact that in the run-up to last night's speech, the Democrats were not actually walking up and shaking hands with the members of the cabinet. There's the president's cabinet. Why wouldn't you go up and shake hands with them? This was David Axelrod talking about last night's speech.
So it's one thing to mine our differences. It's another thing to try and heal our differences. And that is, that's the difference between real leadership and political expediency.
Would it have been healing to stand for Mark Fogel? Might have been.
No, I agree. You are absolutely right.
DJ Johnson.
Well, I will do what you will not. I will say, I think there were times when they should have risen. I think what Al Green did was despicable.
Yeah, how about that? David Axelrod saying what Al Green did in getting himself thrown out was despicable. And CNN, in their own polling, revealing that there was a positive reaction to that speech.
To the results. What was your reaction to Trump's speech? 44% of speech watchers in our instant poll tonight say they had a very positive reaction to Trump's speech. 25% somewhat positive.
So if you go right there, 44-25, carry the one, 69% thought it was somewhat or very positive. Only 31% thought the speech was negative.
31% negative. To the results. What was your reaction to Trump's speech?
Yeah, very interesting. And maybe they're going to wake up and start reporting the reality. Even the focus groups that CNN had a positive response to it. A Pennsylvania resident talking about the speech right after it.
How did you feel about his message regarding the economy?
I thought it was very positive. I think what's happening now, we used to be a country that would just let everything happen. Okay, we'll do this. You guys, Panama can have this. I think now we're taking back things that should have never been given away. So I think doing those tariffs and everything, I think it's well overdone. I mean, it should have been done a long time ago.
Amazing. That was on CNN last night. It's a great awakening. It's a great awakening happening among the media. I'm going to step aside. When we come back, I'll play my very favorite moment from last night. And in case you missed the big finish from the president, I'll share that with you as well. And if you have a final thought, you can try and get it in. 888-630-9625. It is Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant. A little under the weather. I'm hoping he will be healing and back in place tomorrow. If not, I will be here for my friend because that's how we roll. Thank you for hanging out with us and enjoying the recap of last night. I was trying to come up with my very favorite moment, but I don't think I have a favorite moment. I think I have like a top five moments from last night, and they cover a broad spectrum. For example, I do believe that there was great awareness brought to light when the president read for 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes, a list of some of the waste that Doge discovered. I'm not going to give you all 3 minutes, but I'm going to give you my favorite minute.
Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens.
Did you get a free house and a free car? No, neither did I.
$55 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million.
What? Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central... what? Crazy.
$8 million for making mice transgender.
It's almost like a comedy routine, and yet it's real. It's the honest to God's truth. More from my favorite moments from President Trump last night.
We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started.
Yeah, I love the standing ovation on that one because it also struck fear in the hearts of the Democrats saying, wait, what? It's only been 43 days? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Yes, it's only been 43 days, you bobos.
So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
But no, they couldn't stand, they couldn't support him, even though he opened up by giving us a very direct message. Very direct.
America is back.
That's how it kicked off with the America's Back Declaration. I do believe the ending was rock solid. The president, after almost 100 minutes of delivering a speech, yes, it was a teleprompter, and he stuck to the script pretty well, unless he was dropping the Pocahontas line, which I still think was epic. But I think the close with class was the best.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's Michael Pelka for Chris Plant, reminding you, testudo, my friends, testudo.